I'm gonna press record and start this timer. Right. Okay.
So everything needs an introduction, right? That's what they tell me. I'm not really in love with that idea, to be honest with you, because I'm really actually a girl who likes to jump into the middle in the unexpected part of the story and figure it out from there and make it work. And so I'm gonna try to abide by the rules today, and I'm gonna give you that intro podcast episode to get to know me and to get to know the Fawcett Report. Uh, but there's a few things you need to know about me before we get started. About a couple things I don't like. I don't love the rules when they're arbitrary, and I feel most rules are arbitrary. So I like to make my own when they make sense. I do not want to do what everybody thinks I'm going to do. I don't want to do what I grew up being told I had to do. I want to follow that road that's my own, and I'm willing to take the risk to do it. And I don't like long bios. I used to when I was younger. I think I thought I had things to prove, and I would have a bio that listed everything in the kitchen sink, everything I had ever done that was impressive, and where I went to college, all that stuff. But now I think there's only one thing you really need to know about me. I'm a mom, period. End of intro. Not really, but end of intro. I'm a mom, and I am how I became a mom was so transformative that I have now built my entire career around motherhood. And we're going to get more into that as this podcast goes on, but that's really what you need to know. And I'm a mom in every sense of the word.
30 seconds. You want to talk about your 30 seconds?
So if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you know that I do this thing called 30 Seconds with Becky Fawcett. I do it almost every day. Sometimes I do it more than once, depending on what comes to mind. It is not scripted. Occasionally, you will find if you're in my apartment or at my office desk, a million scraps of paper with, oh my God, I have to talk about this. But let's be honest, I usually lose those scraps of paper and I wing it every day. And I'm out on the street in New York City, and sometimes there's sirens, and sometimes it is hectic and crazy and not perfect because that's my life. And I talk about everything under the sun, from who I am to being outspoken to how that really doesn't sit well with everybody, to being unliked, to knowing that you're unliked and how do you deal with that, to not being perfect and embracing that, to being a mom in New York City, to raising two teenage girls in New York City, and loving public transportation because I grew up next to a 400-acre cow farm in the suburbs of Philadelphia. And I love the subway and the bus in New York City. It's my favorite thing to do when I have to get somewhere. And I talk about it all. I talk about stigmas. I talk about stereotypes. I talk about how ridiculous they all are and how we need to break them. I talk about the fact that some people take one look at me and assume that I play pickleball and eat lunch at a country club every day. Couldn't be further from the truth. It's not who I am. Um, I do think it's funny when people think that about me, but to each his own. What else do I talk about? I talk about being infertile. I talk about living in New York City. I talk about getting dressed because I have loved fashion since I was 12 years old. I started babysitting probably at 11 because my father told me that the things I wanted for clothing were ridiculous and he wasn't going to get them. I had what I needed. And so I went to work to earn the money to start buying clothes I wanted at 12. And still to this day, that is my vice. But I love getting dressed. I've never worked in fashion ever. Uh, but it's one of my favorite things to do. I love walking the streets of New York and being inspired by what other people are wearing and how they put themselves together and what they're willing to dare to do. I think that's pretty cool. And
I talk about my work at, so,
I talk about being infertile and the shame and the secrecy that surrounded all of that back then and still today. I talk about my miscarriages. There were 3 of them. They were pretty bad. Shame and secrecy in that too. I talk about not wanting to adopt. As my oldest daughter says to me, joke's on me. How did that work out for you, Mom? How scared I was to adopt and how, oh my God, how grateful I am that I did it. And I have the 2 most amazing girls and my work because of all of it. And I talk about, I don't know, everything. Living in New York City, eating out at restaurants in New York City and finding the gem of a hole in the wall restaurant that is so good that people would think is not the best place to eat because it's not fancy. I talk about finding fashion finds at H&M and Zara and Amazon lookalikes and my sunglass collection. All these funny things, you know, all these things that make us who we are. And I talk about, oh my God, I talk about money a lot. Talk about a taboo subject that you shouldn't ever talk about because I raise money every day to change the world. And so that's breaking another stigma of that.
I think my story truly began when I was 31 and I was trying to have a baby. Thank you.
People always ask, you know, when did you come into your own? When did you really know who you were? And I can only talk for myself. I didn't really know who I was. I always knew who I thought I was supposed to be growing up and who I was supposed to be in college and what I was supposed to do. But I don't think that I really figured it all out. I pretended that I figured it all out. I was good at that, I'll tell you. But I don't think I really figured it all out until I tried to have a baby. I was 31 and it didn't really work. And that's the plot twist that I mentioned in the intro to the intro of the podcast. I struggled. It was bad. I spent all my life savings and my struggle became public thanks to all the miscarriages and then the adoption thing. And no one wanted to talk about any of this. Everybody knew it was happening and no one wanted to talk about it. And to my face, that is, because there was plenty of talk behind my back. And the thing about that is it always comes back to the person. I knew. I knew what people were saying about me. That didn't really make it much better, but I'll tell you this. Walked through that fire. It was the worst time in my life ever. And I came out of it a different person and someone who realized that there was power in talking about what other people didn't want to talk about. And there was power in walking the road that no one else wanted to walk and owning it. And all of a sudden, I realized that being perfect was horrific and being real was the greatest thing I could ever do. So that's who I am. That's who I've become. I adopted both my girls. Jane is now 19, Brooke is 15. They are both open adoptions. We had relationships with their birth mothers while they were pregnant. And for Jane, I was actually in the delivery room with her birth mother when Jane came into this world. We're still friends today. We talk about our 19-year-old friendship in ways that we never thought we would. And yes, was it a lot of work? Yeah. But everybody told us back then it couldn't happen and it wouldn't happen. And we defied the odds. It's pretty good. And then Brooke's birth parents, same thing. I wasn't in the delivery room because Brooke had a different story, and Brooke arrived 3 weeks early in about 15 minutes, surprising everybody, including her birth mother, and was almost born in the back of a car. And but Brooke loves that story because that's her story. It's who she is. She does things on her time when she's ready and not my time. And she always says, Mom, no one makes Becky Fawcett jump through hoops except me. And she's right. It was pretty funny. So those are my girls. And they changed who I was. Their birth mothers changed who I was. And maybe I was this way the whole time, but I needed someone else to draw it out of me.
There are things about me that I know ruffle feathers.
Yeah.
And then going into, I don't shy away from them. You're proud of your.
So one of the things when you have a big personality, which I have a big personality and a lot of opinions, and is that you ruffle feathers. And as a kid, I got myself into trouble with that big personality and opinions. And as a young adult, I would say I probably did too. And I was told always to sit in the background and not to be in the forefront and keep my opinions to myself. But then as I got older, I realized that sometimes my opinions saw the world in a different way and that I could change things and I could make a difference for other people. And I learned to stick my neck out for others. And I learned to use my voice for advocacy work to help others when they had lost theirs. And all of a sudden, I finally learned how to harness this big personality and use it for good. However, when you have a big personality, people don't like you all the time. And that's a hard thing. It gets easier with age, and I will tell you that. And sometimes they let me know they don't like me, which that really is just like, just keep moving, is my opinion. You don't have to like everybody. None of us like everybody. But if that's why you're going to not like me, that's on you. That's on you because that's not a reason to not like me. So I know I ruffle feathers. I know I get myself into trouble every once in a while. Do I regret it? Not really. Not really, because my heart's there. And sometimes, like I already mentioned, I talk about things other people don't want to. Maybe we all should. One of the things that I talk about, and that for years people have been telling me not to talk about, is my age. I'm turning 55 in 2 months. And it feels pretty damn good. I'll tell you, I thought turning 50 was pretty damn good. And I like it. I like it because with my age, first of all and foremost, I am very well aware that it's a privilege to grow old. So thank you for that. I am grateful. But I'm now finding myself sometimes the oldest woman in the room or the oldest person in the room. And that actually feels really good. I didn't always, would have never guessed that that would feel really good. Sorry, now I'm losing my voice. So I now sometimes find that I am the oldest woman in the room and sometimes just the oldest person in the room. And I never would have imagined that that would feel so good. It feels good because with my age comes experience and wisdom and my track record. And I'm braver than I used to be because I'm more sure of myself. I know exactly who I am. And I think that that is one of the coolest things that all of this has taught me is I know exactly who I am. And I am raising 2 girls now to know exactly who they are in this world. And it's a pretty great thing.
I also believe I'm a true champion for other women and celebrate their success.
I also believe that I am a true champion for women. And celebrate my friends' successes as much as I celebrate my own. And one of the reasons, this is where it would be an example of where I ruffle feathers. I am so tired of other women saying that they're women for women. And if you watch their feed and listen to them talk and watch their track record, they're not. They're not. And that's their story, not mine. But people know. People know with me that I'm in it neck deep. I'm in it neck deep with everybody. And I want to see everybody succeed and follow their dreams, whether it's business or motherhood or I don't even know, learning to knit, anything. I want to see you do what you want to do, and I will cheer you on the entire way.
Friends always say.
My friends always say that if you're going to war, you want Becky Fawcett by your side. It's the greatest compliment ever. It's true. It's true. I show up for people when they can't even show up with her. My friends always say that if you're going to war, you want Becky Fawcett by your side. And the first time that was said to me, I said, that's pretty much the greatest compliment I could get. It's true. I show up for others when they can't show up for themselves. And I show up without them asking me to. That's just who I am. It's instinct.
So I'm sorry for this podcast.
So I'm starting this podcast. What?
I'm trying to change the intro, I believe.
I don't know.
You also said what I dream about now.
Yeah. I know we can jump over with how the order of everything. So why am I starting this podcast? Well, through my work at helpusadopt.org, I have realized that sometimes my voice means something. And sometimes people who aren't listening to others in the adoption world will listen to me. And I like that. I like that. I earned that in my work. But where it has morphed past my work is who I've met along the way and how my friendships and my business relationships that become friendships, everything, all roads lead to Help Us Adopt. And I have very interesting friends, very accomplished friends, and great conversations with my friends about all of it, all of it. And I love 30 Seconds with Becky Fawcett. Maybe my voice can do more. We'll see. That's why we're going to try this. We're going to see where it goes. And if we can change one person's life for the better, it's what I say every day when I show up at work, then I'm okay with that.
Can you say that sentence again? We can change one person's life for the better.
And if I can change one person's life for the better by what I'm doing, it's what I say every single day when I show up to work, then I'm okay with that. People ask me what I dream about now. What's next? I sort of laugh at that. I really want to just say, have I not done enough? But I do know what's next because I do still dream about what's to come. I do think that, I look at just my mother's generation. If you were a 55-year-old woman, you wouldn't have even gotten this far, number one. And number two, you would be done at 55. You would be written off at 55. It probably would have happened well before 55. So I am so grateful to be here and to have the opportunities that I've had. I've worked hard for them. I've pushed for them. That has irritated people too. I've asked for what I deserve. I've gone for jobs that maybe I wasn't there yet. but I talked my way into it and I figured out how once I got there and I succeeded. And I am very proud of that track record. So what's next? More. I'm not done. I'm not even close to done. But helpusadopt.org, my primary job, there's more to do. There's more kids to bring home. There's more families to build. There's more advocacy work to do. And there's more stigmas to break. So we're going to give it a try. What else do I need to talk about?
I think that was it.
Really? Is that going to be long enough?
I mean, so right now it's at 20, but there'll probably be a lot of cuts in there. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's probably around like 15.
I didn't talk about failed IVF patient on my resume. So I don't know how to introduce that because it goes back into when I said I could. So I said, I said, you know, I came into my own when I couldn't have a baby. Oh, my internet connection's unstable.
So we just got an email.
Oh, we did?
He did bump up we'll talk about it afterwards.
It's gone now.
Yeah.
So there's more details to the story of not being able to have a baby. And that just made a noise. Sorry. So there's more details to not being having it. So there's more details to the story of not being able to have a baby. I started trying at 31, and we can file all of these details under things that no one wants to hear and no one wants to talk about, because still today, I told you my oldest daughter's 19. So this is 24 years ago, if my math is correct. And no one wants to hear about these details. These details are messy. They're very messy. They're uncomfortable. And no one likes that. So here we go. We're going to talk about that right now. To just wrap it up with a nice, pretty bow. Straight to IVF. No, do not pass go. Do not collect $200. All I kept thinking about was just don't let me have to do the needles. Well, guess what? Straight to the needles. Oh, Jesus. It was awful. 4 years, thousands of painful shots. If you've done them, you know what I'm about to say. I think the back of my hips will hurt forever thanks to those big shots. I mean, some of those needles, the needle was like the lead of a mechanical pencil. I don't even know if anybody knows what a mechanical pencil is anymore, but there you go. Thousands of painful shots, way too many to count. Awful medical procedures, not to mention, you know, you're in a room with multiple people in very compromising positions going through all these, like, not fun, not proud moments, not great, all to have a baby, all to become a mother. I watched my life savings of $82,000 go out the door with all that IVF stuff. And at the end of those 4 years, what was I left with? On my resume was this: failed IVF patient. Well, no one liked that term either. No one wanted to say and take ownership for the fact that mine was a failed IVF patient. People today still don't like that term. They would rather I use the term unsuccessful. Well, I didn't come out of that with a baby. I came out of that with nothing. That's failure. Sorry, it is. 5 rounds of IVF, 3 pregnancies, 3 miscarriages, life savings gone, and no one to talk to me about what was next. I had to figure it out on my own. I chose adoption, but I was terrified. because the world told you. It's not like having,
Because the world told you.
because the world told you, and still today. I don't know what they say today. Come on. Adopting is not like having your own child. And I say your own with quotation marks around it. They tell you it's scary. You don't know what you're going to get. There's a lot of fraud in the world of adoption. Birth parents are scary. Open adoption is scary. It's all scary. That's what they told me. But not being a mom is quite frankly more terrifying than going through this. So I adopted, made the decision to adopt. And then it changed. I became a mom. I met Jane's birth mother. She was just as terrified as I was. I always say she saved me, I saved her. We're in this together. I was there when Jane came into this world and changed me. Being a mom was more than I ever thought it could be. And I thought it was going to be pretty good. So there's that. And then Brooke came along 4 years later. She and her birth parents changed me again. That process was a nightmare. Took much longer than Jane's. And it was scary. And there was no one there to help me through it. So that's part of why I made it my life's mission, because I don't think it has to be scary. And I don't think we should be scared of birth parents. I think we should love them. I think we should respect them. And I think all of it should change. And these are the things I think about as a failed IVF patient. Where's the bridge? We're going to talk about that. Where's the bridge? Who's helping all these failed IVF patients like me? I want to help people become parents. I want them to see their dream differently. I want them to understand that I get it. I get it. It didn't work the way you thought it was going to work. We're all in the same boat, but it could have a beautiful ending. And they are my girls. They're absolutely my girls. And their birth parents think that too. So, life lessons. I just wish someone had been willing to talk about it back then, so I didn't have to go through it alone and feel like I was doing something second best, because no one should feel like that when becoming a parent.
It's good.
Okay.
You do that intro.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's make sure. Oh, we could talk about this. Like, I'm also doing this because, and I want to be real here with everybody, because social media makes it look like it's not.
Okay.
Let's talk about some of the things I hate about living in New York. I think that could be fun.
I'm gonna stop the recording because
Okay.
I realize I don't have the full Zoom account, so
Okay.
it's about to